Wow, thanks, Steve. Thank you all for hanging out. I know it's been a long day. It's going to be fun. I don't know whether you guys are familiar with Jumpstart, the comic strip that I do. Thank you. All right, that's fantastic. Thank you. That's my wife clapping that loud. I can't believe it. All right, this is Jumpstart. These are the characters to populate Jumpstart. It's a family comic strip about a police officer and his wife, who is a nurse, and all the stuff they go through. Actually, Jumpstart is a dissertation about marriage, to be honest with you. That's what it's really all about. Mostly the marriage between Joe, this character, Marcy, this character, and there's other married couples. Even the relationship that Joe has with his partner, Crunchy, is a metaphor for marriage as well. This is how Marcy looks. She's got a lot of hair. Right? Jumpstart. I've been doing Jumpstart every day for 23 years. All right. No, don't clap for that. Don't clap. I'll tell you when to clap. Trust me. And every day for those 23 years, Jumpstart has been an original creation. There's never been a repeated strip due to my not wanting to do it or any other reason. They don't repeat the strip for any reason every single day, which, believe it or not, is a joy for me. And someone once asked me, how can you come up with something new every day? What if you don't feel like doing it? What if something happens? Well, first of all, there's a slight lag between the strips that are running in the paper and the strips I'm working on right now at home. There's about a 3-week gap in there, so if something were to happen to me, there'd be 3 weeks before the world would become alarmed. Not my family knows. You know, listen, the strip is a documentary of them and the things they say and the things they do. I'm watching, I am paying attention to everything my family does. Jumpstart is a love note to my family. And it's really, like I said, it's really a dissertation about marriage. I believe in marriage. I really believe. I've done it twice. I believe in marriage. Come on. Joe and Marcy are the primary couple. And Joe has a partner named Crunchy. I don't know whether you guys know what Crunchy looks like. He's got a lot of eyebrows. I know that. That's how Crunchy looks. Always upset for some reason. Always angry. Now, I adore my characters. I love the characters in Jumpstart, which the love I have for them makes it easy to write for them. And that's how I answer people who say, well, how do you write? What if you don't feel like it? What if you're not in a mood? What if you're not in a funny mood? Well, actually, I don't need to be in a funny mood because I have characters who act at times funny. So I don't need to actually be funny. I've been in some of the worst situations in my life, and Jumpstart just gets funnier. I've learned to actually laugh at things that would upset people, to be honest with you. And I have to really have a keen eye for, how to be sensitive. Because I've dealt with subjects such as death and that kind of thing, and police shootings. My character is a cop, and I have to be very careful when I deal with sensitive topics. But because I'm so in touch with the characters themselves, when I'm not feeling it, so to speak, I've been able to listen for the voices of my characters. This sounds kind of strange, but I've been able to listen to the voices of my characters, especially since often I'll write a strip like this seems funny at the time, and I look down the page and go, you got to be kidding me. Like, that's totally, I don't need expertise in terms of comedy. I'm not writing jokes. I don't have to know what's perfect. However, what I have developed over 23 years, I can tell when something's not funny. That's my expertise. That's your expertise too, by the way. You know when something is not funny. So I'll look down at the page and I'll say, wow, that's just not funny. Sometimes walking away and coming back allows just enough time for the characters to speak to me and inform me about what's going to actually work. This is Crunchy starring in one of the strips. Actually, that strip is going to run on the 22nd of this month. I don't think that strip has run yet. Crunchy recently got married to an equally angry character named Yolanda Ruiz. And at one time, she was actually Joe's partner. And Joe didn't know that she was up for this position as captain of his precinct. And then she didn't think she was going to get it, and she ended up getting it. And it got really weird because this is Joe's partner, and now his wife is the captain. She's much younger than they weren't even, at the time, they weren't even an item. And then they ended up getting married. And Joe just finds it to be bizarre that she's married to this guy. And that she is so angry compared to him. Like, she's worse than he is. So this strip demonstrates something I want you to pay attention to. This is so great that I'm a TED Talk. I'm a TED speaker today. It's amazing. When Drexel called me, I'm like, yeah, why not? And then they named the whole program after that when I said that. I want you to pay attention to something here. Jumpstart is, first and foremost, a character-driven comic strip. Now, you're thinking, well, they're all characters, cartoon characters. Actually, that's not true. There are some joke or gag-driven comic strips. Garfield, for example. BC was gag-driven. Actually, some cartoons don't even have an ongoing character, like The Far Side and that kind of thing. They're gag-driven. Jumpstart is very much a character-driven strip, so I'll demonstrate what I mean by that using this example. Crunchy, obviously, by looking at him, you can tell that he's got anger management issues. So instead of me having to constantly deal with that and constantly explain it, I simply have to draw him. And by looking at him, you go, he's angry. No different than a grouchy dwarf from Seven Dwarfs, or an Oscar the Grouch living in a trash can in Sesame Street. This is done so that you don't have to explain every time you see the character what his whole MO is. You look at him and you know. So you know he's an angry guy. Joe and Crunchy appear together almost always in uniform. Very deliberate. From the inception of my strip, I decided to give my characters occupations that I would never have to explain or go into. Why is that? Because it simply eats up real estate. Comic strips are brief. You don't have time to get into, you notice a lot, Blondie, you don't even know what Dagwood is doing. You don't know, and you don't care. The reason you don't want to know. You don't want to know what High and Lois is doing. Their occupations are kept mysterious because getting into it would just take up too much valuable real estate. So I decided when I was creating the strip to just give them identifiable jobs just by looking at them, which is why Joe is a cop and Marcy is a nurse. Just by looking at them, you can tell. So, without even reading the strip, so much is known. And I'm always writing Jumpstart for the complete newbie, the total stranger. I'm not writing for fans of mine. I'm always writing it so that anybody on the train, opening up the paper, you can look at it, appreciate it, potentially be cheered up by it. So I'm always thinking, what if no one knows anything? How can I now use my characters in such a way that I can introduce them to the reader? And I'm always thinking about it. All these 23 years, I never think, they know him. They know him now. It's enough. I'm always thinking, how can I introduce them? So, having said all of that, I'm introducing the characters now. And Joe says, Ruiz chewed me out for half an hour. Crunchy says, that's just not fair. And then Joe says, what can I do? She's my captain. And then Joe says, look, she's your wife. Go talk some sense to her. And then Crunchy angrily screams, "It's not fair that you're getting yelled at more than me." That strip is written final frame first. Every Jumpstart strip is written final frame first, and then created backward. It's written gag first. Then the gag is slowly obscured. Actually, I tried deliberately to throw you off. Now, how do I do that? I try to throw you off somewhere in the middle, almost always. I want to throw you off in the middle. I want to take you off the scent. You can't know what's coming. So it's disguised right at this point when Crunchy says, "That's just not fair." Because you're reading something left to right and you're thinking, "The captain chewed me out," and his sympathetic partner says, "That's just not fair." So right there, I got you. You have the wrong idea. You actually think Crunchy cares about Joe. Now, he might care about Joe. I'm not saying he doesn't, but right now, he doesn't. Okay? But right now, you think, okay, that's nice. That's nice. His partner says, "That's just not fair." He's feeling his pain. He's not feeling any pain. Joe says, "What can I do? She's my captain. You're married to her." Now, by then, I've now introduced you to the woman who's Ruiz. That guy on the train who's never seen Jumpstart before, now he knows who Ruiz is. She's this dude's wife. And I've also identified her complete occupation. I'm maximizing every square inch of this comic strip. So much goes into every frame, every word, every speech balloon. It's ridiculous. Sometimes I'm not that pleasant to live with, right, honey? There's a lot going into every balloon, okay? This appears to be a very easy job to have. All my friends, you're so lucky. You get to go to work in your underwear. I'm being tormented in my underwear because every frame matters, every balloon matters, and every word matters. Every nuance of every word matters. I'm using words deliberately to mislead you and then surprise you. This is how humor is created. Humor is a craft. This is not an art. This is an art. The fact that I can stand here and draw Charlie Brown, that's an art. Look at that. That's an art. That's Charlie Brown. Wait a minute. That's an art. But I can stand there and draw Charlie Brown that quick. Writing is not an art. Writing is a craft. I learned that last night inside a fortune cookie. I'm not lying. That's not shtick. I was reading the fortune cookie last night. I was like, wow, I can use that. I don't discard anything. What's Charlie Brown doing here? First thing, when I was a little kid, I learned how to draw Snoopy, too. All right? Can you imagine how thrilled I was when years later I signed a deal? When I was a young man, I signed a deal with United Feature Syndicate, the syndicate that syndicates Charlie Brown, Peanuts, and Snoopy and all that. Back then, it was 1989. I was the youngest cartoonist in America. Now, am I saying that to stand up here and brag? Yes. Yes. Are you kidding me? As soon as I signed my contract, I said, "Can I meet Charles Schultz?" My editor said, "What?" I said, "Can you introduce me to Charles Schultz?" She said, "No." She said, "But I'll tell you what. Give me one of your drawings. You want to send something to him? I'll mail it to him." And she did. She sent him an original Jumpstart when I first got my deal in 1989. And then years, like 2 years after that, I met him, got a chance to meet him, and it was framed in his office. I kid you not. I was like, it was the only cartoon hanging in his office. He said, "Look, you're a talented young man. Don't let anybody tell you what to write. That's your comic strip. You're in charge of it. Do crazy things. Do crazy things. They'll tell you when it's too crazy, but don't be afraid to try it. And he became my friend. And he's my friend until his death in the year 2000. I still mourn Charles Schulz, because just knowing that he was reading my strip used to just blow my mind. And recently I was invited back. I'm getting off on a rant, actually. I went back and I visited his museum in Santa Rosa, California. And a picture we had taken together is still in his office. So it's really wonderful to have this career. Now, I want to get back to the how and the why. When I began believing I was going to be a cartoonist one day, I was very young. I was only 3 or 4 years old. I started to believe this. And when I say to you guys, why not go to work in your underwear like I do? That's not literal. That is not a recommendation from me. That's not a fashion suggestion for Casual Friday. What I'm saying is, every human being has a passion. Everybody. Everybody has talent, believe it or not. Everybody has wild dreams. But we all have to work. So often we end up working someplace that has nothing to do with the passion and the dreams and all that. What I'm saying is, I was not always a syndicated cartoonist. I worked a 9-to-5 job too. I worked in the advertising industry. I got my degree from Syracuse University in advertising. I got into the advertising game, and I was an art director. I worked on Tasty Cakes, Snack Cakes. I worked on the Pennsylvania Lottery. And I'm from here. I live in LA now, but I was here. I was working down the street on Market Street at 18th and Market, right? I'm sorry, that way. Is it this way? All right, it's that way. I was working at 18th and Market on the, in the advertising business, and I would work at night. See, what I mean by working in your underwear is use your life to accomplish the things you really want to accomplish. Don't let anything stop you. I know you have to work. I had to work. Here's what I used to do. I'd work my job, all right? I'd come home 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, I'd take a nap. I'd lay right down and take a nap. And I'd nap for like 3 hours, and I'd get up and I'd do comic strips. And I would mail them off to syndicates. And then they would mail them back to me with rejection letters. And this went on for years. This went on for years. But there I was working in my underwear. If you want something to really happen in your life, you have to work with other people in their pajamas. I'm serious. I mean, I know some of you already have stuff going on in your life. Some people have done all that and it's over with. My friend Ira's sitting right here. Here's a guy, he's retired. He's young. In his underwear for no reason at all now. He got nothing to do. Nothing left to do. I'm saying if you really, really want it, you really would believe in it, you believe this is your calling, I suggest you work while others are sleeping. When I was 3 years old and I was drawing the Flintstones, I used to watch the Flintstones on TV and I couldn't draw. And Fred came out looking crazy, like Fred Flintstone looked like this when I was 3, with an eyeball that was hanging out here and a mouth that was messed up and a body that was skinny and legs that were too long and feet that were facing over here. And back then, I thought his arms came out from his head. I didn't know what was going on. He had about 19 fingers, too. It was terrible. See, it was back in those days that my mother said, honey, that looks better than the ones on TV. And she would give me a star, This is what changed my life. I had a star. Oh, my God. This is when I became a good artist. It was the encouragement. It was the love. It was the belief my mother had in me, right? My dream, it took shape back when I was about 10. I said, look at this. This does look like the Flintstones. You know what I mean? This is when it started to come off, It was kind of messed up, but you get the point. It started to happen, I grew up believing. I grew up with a very, very strong sense of what I was born to do, right? Now, it took many, many years for this to happen. My mom never lived to see it. Died young. She died in her 40s. I'm older than she was when she passed. I'm 50 years old right now. My mom died at 49, 30 years ago. And while heartbreaking, I'm convinced she knew. I'm convinced she always knew, because I never put down my pen. I never put down my pen. I had different things I had to overcome, my life and all that. In Philly here, I lived right down the street, 20 blocks from here I grew up, 56 in Walnut. And we experienced the death of my oldest brother. He was killed on that train right here. Market Frankfurt-L. My brother was caught in the doors of the Market Frankfurt-L when he was 13 years old, dragged to death, died at 56 in Market Street on the tracks. And my mom got me, said, we're leaving this neighborhood. Got me to a private school, and that private school led to Syracuse, and Syracuse led to this and that. Most importantly, this. So I say, go to work in your underwear. Why not? I'm out of here. I gotta go. Thank you.